Hey friends, and welcome to the video. Thanks for joining me here today, and if you've never seen my face before, I'm Olivia, and you can consider me your fragrance fairy godmother. So, holidays are coming up, came up really quick this year, and so I thought it would be fun if we talked about some hidden gem fragrances to wear to the holiday parties. Now, when it comes to holiday time, I personally am thinking of things that are comforting and cozy, not things that are gonna be super garish and flashy and super sexy, because I think more of hanging out with friends and hanging out with family, just cultivating that warm energy. This is not date night super sexy. This is more of a comforting scent profile that I'm after. But it's important that we're not smelling like everyone else at the party. Not everyone and their mother knows about these fragrances, and these are criminally underhyped in my opinion. So if you want to smell unique at the holiday parties, you are in the right place, so let's get it. First up is a brand new release from the house of The Maker. You guys have heard me rave about The Maker on this channel, and if you haven't, welcome. I love these fragrances. They smell so high quality, they last a long time, and they're so well blended that you can't discernibly pick out one note from another. So the brand new fragrance that I'm talking about is called Lover, and it's a fig fragrance. I am a sucker for fig fragrances. Anything fig and I want it, and this is not a super ripe fruity fig, but rather a green semi-milky fig, and then you get a lot of powderiness that is delicate and soft, doesn't come off too cosmetic or too mature, that's swiftly followed up with a natural smelling jasmine that doesn't go too sharp or indulgent, because I'm very picky about my jasmine fragrances. But where this shines is that it has some vetiver. So vetiver can come off a little bit like dried hay. It smells very clean and sometimes can lean a little bit leathery. And then in the base, this has oud, but this is not a strong, dank, barnyard, stinky oud. This is a smooth, slightly spicy oud. So in the beginning, you are getting a green milky fig. You are getting a lot of powderiness. You're getting that jasmine, but then as it dries down, you get this dry hay-like experience, and you get a little bit of a spicy woodiness. So this smells very natural. It's comforting in an interesting way. I think because of that powderiness, but this is just such a stunning release. That's called Lover by The Maker. Next is another fragrance that does quite a bit of a 180. So this is Divine Enfant by Atelier d'Orange. You are going to get a lot of orange blossom. And luckily it's smooth, because sometimes orange blossom can be a little bit sharp to me, a little bit headache inducing. But what softens it is there's the note of marshmallow, almost slightly reminiscent of Love Don't Be Shy, just a tiny bit, not anywhere as sweet, because you have a tobacco that comes in. It's floral, it's sweet, but then you start to get a little bit of that roasty, toasty tobacco, and then in the base, it goes a little bit leathery, smooth, suede-like. So this does a total 180, but this is so comforting. It almost has something a little bit milky to it because of that marshmallow. So if you like something that is sweet and floral, but you want something that has some grounded earthiness, a little bit of an animalic touch to give it some depth, you would love this. That is Divine Enfant. Now, if you want something that has that powdery, warm, almost leathery touch to it, but you do not want any sweetness to it, I've heard a little bit of hype about this one, but not a lot of people have it yet, and that is Oud To Dullness by Juliet Has a Gun. So the star player in this is star anise. That's a little fun play on words. Star player, star anise. Anyways, the star anise in this does not come off like black licorice, but it smells like the actual star anise itself that you use in cooking. So it's very fragrant and aromatic, and it has a warming characteristic to it, which is complemented by some tonka bean that adds a powderiness and a slight roasted quality. But there is a cashmere wood that feels like a dry wood, and then a sandalwood that comes off a little bit creamy. So this is not sweet, but it is aromatic, it is woody, and it's a little bit creamy. And I describe this as smelling like a warm cashmere blanket. So if you like something that is delicate and woody with a noticeable star anise that doesn't go too licoricey, you would like that. That's Oud To dullness. Sticking along with the theme of fragrances that are a little bit more natural smelling, not so sweet, this is Sexy Garig by Veronica Bay, and this is an amber dominant fragrance. This is warm and resinous, almost has a little bit of a leathery touch from some labdanum, but then where this shines is it has a little bit of a green pine tree-like element right after sun goes down. So the air is cool, but the ground is still warm, and you get the greenness from the trees, but you get that sticky sap scent. That is what you're getting from this. It is so comforting, and it is sexy in a very womanly way because it does have some natural sweetness because of that resinous quality. That greenness really balances it, and this is just a fabulous fragrance, and the performance is so good. This fills up a room, but it smells very natural. It doesn't have any sort of synthetic, bothersome notes about it, and you will smell one with nature. So think Christmas, pine trees, this. Now let's say you want an ambery fragrance, but you are a fan of some sweetness. I hear a lot of people talking about Nest fragrances, but in particular, I don't hear anyone talking about Golden Nectar. So this is an ambery fragrance, but it is sweetened up with a lot of vanilla, like a sweet, creamy vanilla. And despite there being no fruit notes listed, I do get something borderline fruity when I first smell this, but then as it dries down, it's vanilla, it's powdery, it's almost a little bit lipsticky in the powderiness. But then as it dries down, it has this beautiful suede-like musk that becomes a second skin. So if you do like vanilla amber fragrances that are a little bit more sweet, Golden Nectar, let's stop sleeping on this fragrance. But what if you want something that is right in between the two? Not sweet, not dry smelling, something that is more of a second skin sort of scent. Well, then this one will be for you, my friends. This is called Worthy by Mudo. This is predominantly a white musk fragrance, but it is sweetened up with a little bit of amber and a little bit of vanilla. But this has some aromatic qualities to it. So it has lavender very softly, just to give it a calming herbal touch, which is amplified by a tea note to give it a little bit of an earthy groundedness. This is going to be good for those of you who like something that is very subtle, very smooth. It is warming. It's a little bit sensual, but it is not an overbearing fragrance. This is perfect for those of you who want something that will smell like you, but better. Something that is not going to call a lot of attention. Let's say you're having a more intimate dinner and you don't want to be smelling your fragrance as you're eating. You just want something that when you turn, when you hit a breeze, you'll get this beautiful, soft, musky vanilla scent, but it's not overwhelming. Now, if you want a vanilla musk that's going to be a little bit more fruity and a little bit more noticeable, this one right here is a stunner. This is Musk Moo Juice by Rania J. So in the beginning, you are going to get some fruitiness from some black currant, and it comes off a little bit syrupy, but then quickly in comes the iris, and it gives it a powdery, fluffy, feminine touch. And then as this dries down, it is a clean white musk that's sweetened up just a little bit with some vanilla. So this is fruity, it's musky, it's clean, and it's powdery. And this smells a little bit effervescent, a little bit sparkling, very feminine and very delicate while still having some presence. This one you can smell at arm's length, but it is an inoffensive scent. Inoffensive, but still unique. Now, speaking of unique, this is going to be for those of you who want something that is going to stand out and not everyone is going to understand. And I feel you. So we have Adesis by Aesop. Now this is a spicy, woody fragrance. So it starts off with black pepper that feels very freshly cracked black pepper, coarsely ground, and then you start to get a lot of woodiness, and you are getting sandalwood and cedar wood. So the cedar wood is much more dry and a little bit smoky. The sandalwood adds maybe a tiny bit of creaminess, but this one comes off a little bit more herbal. And then you have the note of cumin. Now I know cumin is polarizing. A lot of people say that it's a little bit too close to the smell of food or body odor. I personally find the scent of cumin so warming, and there is something animalistic, maybe because it does smell a little bit like human odor, but not in a bad way, not like you don't bathe, but just a little bit of the person's smell. It's woody, it's spicy, and it's warm, and it is not sweet at all. So this one is going to be perfectly unisex, slightly leaning masculine. That's Adesis by Aesop. Now to my floral lovers, I don't want you to feel like I'm ignoring you. So we have a rose fragrance. This is called Rose d'Essence by Lura. So in the beginning, you are going to be met with some tanginess from some bergamot, but then you start to get some fruit. We have raspberry and we have black currant, but these come off very natural. They are not candied smelling. They don't smell like a designer fragrance. So a little bit of tart juiciness in the beginning, but then you get a big, fresh red rose that is very apparent and very natural smelling. You get a little bit of incense, a little bit of dark, smoky, resinous quality. And in the base, you get this beautiful roasted, powdery tonka and a little hint of vanilla. So this is predominantly a rose fragrance with a lot of incense and some fruits around it, but then it dries down to have a roasted sort of effect. So it's very warm. It's floral, it's sensual, but it's not going to be too sexy for the holiday parties. And speaking of roasty and toasty, this house needs more shine because their fragrances are so good. This is Experimental Perfume Club, and this is called Tonka Extraordinary. This is a very nutty fragrance. You have hazelnut and almond. You also have sesame, and that sesame in combination with the tonka bean give a roasted effect, which is complemented by a natural resinous sweetness. So you have myrrh and frankincense that give a little bit of a churchy resinous incense vibe, along with a toasted quality, a nutty quality, and then in the base you get a little bit of patchouli. So this is warm, but it's not too sweet. It is a little bit churchy, and it's just a very fun fragrance, and these perform so nicely, and this house is just so good. I find this so impressive, and not a lot of people talk about it. So I have two from Experimental Perfume Club, and they are fantastic. Next is a brand new one from the house of Gallagher, and I love their fragrances so much. This is called Purple Powder. So in the beginning, you are going to get a blast of a refreshing citrus from some mandarin that's made a little bit spicy with black and pink pepper, so it's very refreshing. But then in comes some iris that is a little bit green and very powdery and very comforting, but it's warmed up with some cinnamon and benzoin. So that's such an interesting combination to me. It's powdery, but it's warm. It's a little bit citrusy and spicy. And then in the base, you have a little bit of cedar wood. Predominantly, this is an iris fragrance, but it has a lot of character to it. So if you like iris fragrances, you're gonna love this one. That's Purple Powder from Gallagher. Now, another iris fragrance that's going to take it in a completely different direction is this one right here. This is by JUS Fragrances, JUS Juice, I'm not sure. And this is called Cuirassime. So this has a lot of violet in it. That's going to give a little bit of a powdery greenness in the beginning. And then you start to get that iris that comes off very vintage cosmetics. But then as this dries down, you get quite a bit of leather, a supple, rich leather. So this smells like you are pulling a vintage red lipstick out of a Birkin bag. You are going to smell regal. You are going to smell expensive. I could see people feeling like this smells a little bit mature, but in the best way possible. Now for those of you who want something that's going to be warm but a little bit gourmand, but is still going to maintain a perfume essence, this is Not Your Girl by Deck of Scarlet. This is a creamy sandalwood and peach fragrance, but it's made a little bit spicy with some cardamom. And then you have this beautiful rum that comes through, and it's all tied up in a bow with a little bit of a natural smelling patchouli. So all in all, this is peach and it's creamy sandalwood with a little bit of spiciness and just a little bit of earthiness to ground it down. It has a light amount of sweetness so it doesn't go too gourmand, but it is smooth and creamy and warm and scrumptious without smelling like a pastry. And I have specifically saved the best for last because this fragrance smells like the holidays, and I cannot explain it any better than that. That is Praline and Maple by Scents of Wood. This is a warm, woody, spicy fragrance, and this is going to smell like you are roasting chestnuts on an open fire. You get that roasted quality from some clove, a little bit of black pepper, but then you get a natural sweetness from some olibanum, a little Peru balsam. It smells like you're burning a fire in a log cabin. It is sweet, but in a natural sense, and very, very woody and a little bit nutty. It is so beautiful. This smells like the holidays through and through, and this would perform so well in cold weather. So if you live in a place with snow, take advantage of this fragrance. That is Praline and Maple by Scents of Wood. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's videos. Hopefully you found something in this video that sounds interesting to you. If you want to smell a little bit unique at all the holiday parties and you don't want to smell like everyone and their mother, I totally don't. And I hope that you guys have a fantastic holiday season, and I'll be seeing you next Saturday, 10 a.m. PST. And until then, take care of yourselves, my friends.